Let's talk returning to exercise postpartum, because like training during pregnancy, we know lack of guidance is a barrier to successfully returning to exercise. And returning to exercise postpartum is just as individual and can be just as confusing as training during pregnancy. And depending on where you get your information from, it can be filled with just as much contradictory information and misinformation. And in my personal experience, postpartum repair can be much more complex and has many more factors that need to be considered than training during pregnancy, if you can believe it. So if you've just had a baby or you're currently pregnant and thinking about what your journey is going to be like on the other side, keep listening because this video is absolutely for you. But first things first, let's talk about when it's even safe to return to exercise after giving birth. Now, most guidelines suggest that returning to activity can begin around 6 weeks postpartum, but this ambiguity leaves many new mums feeling really uncertain about what this even means. Does it mean that you can dive straight back into doing what you were doing before? Does it mean that you can't do anything at all until the 6-week mark? And it's here where the confusion starts, because the 6-week check, which is typically when you get clearance to exercise, is lacking at best, but especially when it comes to assessing the health and well-being of the mother, because it typically revolves around your baby's health. And it's my belief that there should be checks or check-ins for the women's health and well-being much sooner than 6 weeks. And this is something that needs to change for the overall health and well-being of our new mothers. And for those lucky enough to be working with a women's health physiotherapist through pregnancy, you likely have some type of post-birth check-in to ensure if there are any potential issues that they get addressed much sooner than 6 weeks, because that's a really long time if there's something going wrong. And from a coaching perspective, the women that I work with during pregnancy have a specific 0 to 9 week program that they can start as soon as they feel ready. But just to clarify, the first 3 weeks are based around breath work, deep core activation, and very gentle stretches. Outside of this 0 to 9 week program, for many reasons, I personally won't start coaching or programming for women postnatally until they've received medical clearance to exercise. But interestingly, a consensus from a Delphi survey of clinicians and exercise professionals indicates that a minimum 3-week period of rest and recovery is recommended before starting to gradually return to running. And longitudinal studies show that returning to exercise, including running, within the first 12 weeks postpartum can be done successfully without increasing the incidence of incontinence or pelvic floor dysfunction. Now, obviously, what you do in that time is very important, and it's crucial to consider these individual factors, and the type of delivery that you've had is right up there in the #1 spot. So, of course, women who experience perineal trauma or women who have had a C-section delivery will need adequate time for soft tissue healing before returning to training. For those who've had a forceps delivery, which are linked to denervation of the pelvic floor, they may need an even longer recovery time. Then other things that are extremely individual and extremely important to consider would be things like your medical history. Are there any psychological concerns? Your current physical capacity, your previous training history and overall tolerance to exercise, your goals, your confidence in training, and your physical and mental readiness to return. And it's vital to be looking at things from a holistic perspective, considering factors like your sleep patterns, fatigue, breastfeeding, nutrition, psychological well-being, and of course your support systems. And it's really easy to look at other people's journeys and compare where they are to where you are and think that you should be further along. But one of the most important takeaway points of this particular video would be to remember that every woman's postpartum journey is unique, so please don't compare yourself to others. And one of the key reasons why your postpartum journey is so unique is based on the significant changes that your own body went through to bring new life into this world, but especially in your abdominals, pelvis, and pelvic floor. Now, we know pregnancy can stretch and weaken the abdominal muscles, leading to things like abdominal separation. In fact, studies have even shown 100% of women have abdominal separation by week 35 when using a diagnostic criterion of 1.6 centimetres at 2 centimetres below the umbilicus. This decreased to 52% at 4 to 6 weeks and continued to decrease to 39% at 6 months. Then, of course, you have your pelvic floor. So we need to consider things like your pelvic floor strength, its endurance, and vaginal resting pressure, which are often altered after childbirth, but particularly with women who delivered vaginally. But all of these things affect how the pelvic floor functions. And research shows that approximately 75% of postpartum women experience some degree of pelvic floor dysfunction. And you have to remember that this can be either hypertonic or a tight pelvic floor, or hypotonic, meaning a weak pelvic floor. I mean, you can even get tightness masking weakness in this tricky little muscle, your pelvic floor. Now, the 3 umbrella concerns for your postpartum pelvic floor when it comes to returning to exercise would be pain, incontinence, and prolapse. But here's the kicker, and yet another reason why this muscle is so tricky and absolutely needs to be assessed by a women's health or pelvic health specialist physiotherapist before returning to exercise is that pelvic floor dysfunction can exist without any of these symptoms. You can be completely asymptomatic. Now, some women may have weakened or overly tight pelvic floor muscles, but may not experience any of the classic signs of dysfunction. You can even have an asymptomatic prolapse, which is where one of your pelvic organs, being your bowel, uterus, or bladder, moves or descends from its normal position, and you have no symptoms of this whatsoever. Can you imagine what would happen if you went back to training with that? Or you might just know that things feel different to what they did before and put it down to just having a baby and think nothing more of it, and that eventually it will go back to normal. But the key takeaway from this, and something that I implement with those that I work with, is to make sure that you have your pelvic floor assessed by a specialist women's health or pelvic health physiotherapist as soon as possible when it comes to returning to exercise postnatally. And as a side note here, I've got a little story for you. So I've had a woman come to me after being assessed by her doctor, her GP. So this doctor examined her internally, lying down, and cleared her for exercise, telling her that she's all good, no concerns, you're good to go. So she's come to me as a postpartum client, not someone that I trained through her pregnancy. I did my particular postnatal assessments on her, and the readings she was giving me on self-assessment seemed a little bit off to me. So I sent her to the women's health physio. So she comes back to me with a prolapse diagnosis that was missed based on the position that she was examined in by her GP. Now, I want you to imagine just for 1 second the potential alternate outcome for this woman. She hadn't come to me, she hadn't had these assessments, and she just started training with a normal trainer who whacked her straight back into normal training. The sad thing is that this alternate outcome is a story that I've heard too many times, usually before saying things like, "I wish I knew that before." And this is yet another reason why I'm so passionate to educate all women on training during the pregnancy process, which includes postnatal repair. But the physical changes and challenges aren't the only thing that we need to consider when returning to exercise postpartum. One of the biggest barriers to postpartum exercise is the overwhelming fatigue and sleep deprivation that many new mothers experience. And every baby is different when it comes to their sleeping patterns. So if you aren't getting a good night's sleep, it can make it super challenging to prioritize training. And the reality is, while some people might wear their training while sleep deprived as a badge of honor, it can actually do you more harm than good. And when you don't get enough sleep, it actually affects your brain, making it so much harder to think clearly and react quickly, which can increase your chances of getting injured. And studies have even shown that athletes like runners and team sports players perform much worse when they're sleep deprived. They get tired faster and make more mistakes. And more importantly, without enough sleep, your body struggles to recover. And of course, most muscle repair and growth happens while you're in those deep sleep stages. So if you're missing out on that, you're not even giving your body the chance to absorb all of the amazing benefits of training in the first place. Now, this can, of course, leave you feeling even more exhausted and losing motivation to train altogether. And this is why it's so important to have some low-level exercises like foam rolling and core work and stretches and activation exercises to turn to on days when you just haven't had enough sleep, so you're still doing something good for your body. And let me tell you, these are probably exactly what you need to be doing if you've been up all night stuck in weird positions soothing or feeding a baby. And we couldn't talk about returning to training postpartum without discussing energy expenditure and breastfeeding. And we know breastfeeding significantly increases a mother's energy requirements by roughly 500 to 600 calories per day. And this additional caloric need can lead to a situation known as relative energy deficiency, where the energy intake is insufficient to meet the energy expenditure from things like daily activities, breastfeeding, and exercise. And the key factors that lead to relative energy deficiency are insufficient caloric intake to meet the body's energy needs and excessive energy expenditure through physical activity. And what's important to understand is this imbalance can have serious implications for your overall health and well-being, not to mention your milk supply. And you've got to consider things like the rapid changes your life's going through, fatigue, mental load, and lack of your usual routine that come with life as a new mum can alter your nutritional habits. And if you're not careful to ensure that you're not only eating enough to fuel your body sufficiently for life, breastfeeding and training, it can create energy deficiencies. So it's crucial for new mothers to monitor their caloric intake when returning to training to make sure that they're meeting their nutritional needs while breastfeeding. And lastly, let's talk about the importance of support. So each woman's ability to access care to allow them time to exercise is going to be different, which is yet another reason why returning to exercise is so individual. A woman who has a partner that works from home, a very hands-on wider network of family and friends, or access to paid care is going to have a very different pathway to someone who doesn't have any of this and has to find gaps in the day when their partner is home or the baby is sleeping to squeeze in some time to train. Then there's outside support and guidance, which we already know a lack of guidance has been identified as a significant barrier to successfully returning to exercise postpartum. And sadly, a referral to a specialist women's health physio, while gold standard, isn't standard practice, well, here in Australia anyway. And this lack of care that women experience in the postpartum phase is a huge contributor to the prevalence of postpartum symptoms or confusion that interfere with women returning to training in the postpartum period. And I'm really sorry to say, while there are many incredible women and coaches out there doing an amazing job with the pregnant and postpartum population, there are just as many preying on the insecurities that so many women have around their postpartum bodies and pushing the bounce back narrative to boost their own bank accounts. So to this, one thing that I will say is please do your research. Be discerning in who you listen to and who you turn to for advice around your postnatal repair journey. It is so easy to put pre and post specialist in your bio. It's a few words, but it's a whole other story to actually be one. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you need any help with this, because returning to exercise postpartum is a journey that needs to be approached with care and compassion. Of course, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with someone who you think will find it helpful as well, and feel free to share your own postpartum exercise experience in the comments below.